Hello, my name is Koray Tuberkibir and I am the owner and founder of Holistic SEO and Digital. In this video, I will explain what Google Author Rank is in 10 minutes. And this is a research paper that I have written, and I can definitely claim that this is the most detailed and expanded research with many theoretical aspects and also practical aspects too, just for explaining how the Google actually perceives you as an author or creator. The concept of the creator or the main content creator is heavily used in Google Quality Rater guides, and it is highly relevant to the EAT. And at the same time, authorship, it is highly relevant to the topical authority and semantic SEO as well. Because Google will always try to find the real experts for a topic so that they can actually balance the information retrieval, page rank, and information extraction together. And we can have a bad website with a good author, or we can have a good author on maybe even a better website with other bad authors. So like in old days, it is about who are your friends or who actually you are hanging out with. So in this case, or in this context, actually, Google tries to understand authorship since actually 8 August 2005. This is one of the first occurrences of the Google authorship on the research papers. And here we have two different names, David Minock and Paul A. Tucker. They also exist in many other Google research papers and even some important meetings and also interviews. That's why I have tried to write their names. The first instance here is agent rank, and when we say Google Author Rank, we actually take it from the history of search engine optimization. It is highly cited and used in research papers, but when we say what it is, we actually don't rely on the research papers anymore. We try to explain what Google Author Rank based on the situation on the search engine result pages and how actually author rank or author authority, let's say, it might help. Because in research papers, for instance, we have something called phrase rank. We also have rank merge. We also have different types of ranks too, to be honest, even language rank, because in multilingual search, what the main language of the website is. Usually we assume that Google tries to understand relevance. Actually, first step of information retrieval is character embedding, then comes the word embedding, then actually language understanding comes. First, of course, they need to detect the language. After that, actually, they focus on the relevance. So there are different steps. And when we look at the Google's own inventions since this date, 2005, we see Google Answers, Google Talk, Google Plus, Google Knol, Google Sidewiki, Google Groups. And this is a kind of methodology that Google actually uses. It is called ambience optimization. In other words, there is an ambience around us, and they try to cover every step of it, every inch of it, because they want to exist in everywhere. And to be able to do that, they will try to be in your phone, in your car, in your mirrors. There are smart mirrors that Google produces. There are also glasses. You already know that they try to generate even glasses or watches and your laptops. And even they will go beyond that. And I believe the last step will be being inside of our brains. And if we become a kind of multi-planet species one day, I believe they will cover even between the planets as well, because this is what Google's mentality is. Before, from even in the Plex, there was a quote. Once Sergey Brin said that they already hate Google, so what's the downside? So they won't stop. And all these inventions, they always have a mutual part, which is actually connecting people to each other with certain types of activities, like answering questions, like talking with people, like showing world who you are, like creating an encyclopedia with your own perspective, and also like helping people for commenting for different types of web pages or products, and also creating social groups or forums. And at the same time, always, for all these inventions, we always want in common, which is also the authors. Because in every case here, people are actually authors of a message or an encyclopedia page or an answer or a kind of dialogue or a kind of group or group discussion or a kind of comment and etc. So if you check the Google Quality Raters, if you didn't memorize it yet, please do. And even if still, I can tell that actually the patents are way much more important than Google quality raters. And as you know, Google quality rater guides, it wasn't public. Actually, it was leaked by someone. And after that, Google had to admit that the things there. But still, I must tell that actually research papers show a better consistency. And there is something that Google calls in quality raters, which is called main content creator. So main content creator reputation is more important than the website reputation. In this case, you should be careful about who is the author on your website. And still, I see that there are many websites with different types of authors without any kind of relevance to the topic or any kinds of real world existence. I see many websites that uses fake profile pictures, fake names, fake social media profiles. And also we have AI now, because it is not just about who the author is, it's also about, is the author real? Or in other words, is this article written by this author? Is it a ghostwriter? So we have many things here. I have just 4 minutes around. My purpose is 10 minutes, so let me try my chance. So basically Google Answers is a kind of form. It's still alive, and I strongly suggest you to check out Google always a 3-card company. In other words, they always use a single card in the form of 3 other cards. By saying that, I mean they use the data of anything. Basically, if you type something into the Google Docs, they actually use that data. If you search or answer or ask something from Google Answers, they also use these data for understanding human dialogues and also, of course, question answering. So that's why the information here is important, and even this area, the topics here, is even important, because in this topic area, they actually show that how they understand all these things. Even in the YouTube categories or even in Google NLP API, you can see that these didn't change that much. And when we check these things, still we see that actually it is active, it is indexed, and it takes even traffic. And I strongly suggest you to check the answers and questions here. You can find really useful Google SEO information here, and you can even smile, and you can also see that nothing changed actually. Everything just goes deeper, but still the fundamentals are same. And then we have Google Talk, which is again about authorship, because again in Google quality raters you will see that there is something called comment author. Comment author is different than main content creator author. And in Google Answers, they actually try to rank all the users or authors according to their authorities for these topics. So this is one of the first instances that Google actually tries to understand which author or commentator is really authority for which topic. And they also use these stars or this type of other sentiment analysis in the patent and research paper, and also in practice too. So we know Google Talk from like Google Messages or Gmessage or Gchat. It is actually still active. We use it from Google Email, which is Gmail. And Google Plus, you already know it, because first time Google actually started to use author tag. It was an old thing. Old SEOs, I believe they already know it. And they removed it because it was so easy to manipulate the Google Plus and taking the fake authority there. And during these days, like 2011, 2010, Google was very much more open and transparent company, and Metcalfe was even explaining that they were using the social media links, social media profile links to understand how it is relevant to a person. And still Google actually just today, they actually use the social media profiles for entity reconciliation. Entity reconciliation means that entity resolution. In other words, they try to understand who you really are. For example, while I am talking, Google actually recognize my voice, face, and accent. And let's say 1 year later, I learned English, let's say, better. For the last 10 years I am learning it, and let's say my talking style started to change, and in this case they might actually perform a kind of transition from this version to that version according to the similarities. Even accent actually might be useful there. So Google Knol, this is really important because this was a project for being a competitor to Wikipedia, which failed because they tried to create an income model for every user, and it was highly spammed. It is used for page rank manipulation and link hoarding and also fake authority creation. So that's why Google goes dark. They don't explain things, they don't show things anymore because we already destroyed many products for them. I didn't put Orkut here, by the way. Orkut was a social media platform that Google created just for being a competitor against Facebook, which failed. Orkut is a Turkish word, by the way. I didn't put it here because it's not that relevant to the authorship, not that much. But these are highly relevant to the authorship. When you read the article, you will understand it and how the Google actually understands authors, because here actually they don't just create an income model, they also try to create a kind of profile just based on your authoritative sites, and they also let you to introduce your websites and also your knowledge domain, and they also take all of the comments or all of the discussions and also changes, like as in Wikipedia, and they try to understand who is the real authority there. Google Sidewiki was like that too, and Google Sidewiki was a kind of way of collecting real world data from users for web pages. Imagine that there is a program, it lets all of the users to communicate with each other just related to the web pages. Imagine that you visited the web page and you say that I like this web page, and they let you to write this type of reviews there. In their patent of this thing, they actually talk about, they can understand which user's data is more important for which topic. So it is also used in my other research paper for ranking, because not every user is same in terms of importance. For example, when you search for something sport, when you click something, it might not mean a thing to the search engine, because you might not be important for that topic. So it is also about which user's behavior mean more, or when you are noisy, when you are actually giving a honest feedback. Google Groups, we already know them. You can also read it in terms of author rank as well when I publish the research. I have put many research papers here. Be careful about Author Anson. He is also the guy behind the Google Plus, and he is also the one who writes the patent and also announces it from the Google blog. And all these things here with key points, they always tries to explain the Google research papers, like reputation of an author of online content. When you read it, you will actually start to understand how the Google actually understands your overall authority or overall reputation, and how they actually rank the authors. And at the same time, we have some other research papers here. By the way, this was I shared this one, by the way, once. I said that this was like Michael Scofield's prison escape plan. I have shared it like 3 months ago or something from my Twitter account. And yes, monetization was here too, as I show on these products. So these are the patterns of these products. So that's why I'm telling that they use the patterns. It's not that secret. And when you read it at this, you will be able to see it. And again, multiple contributions from an author, determine an author authentication score for a contributor, and etc. And determine the author's revenue share, and the revenue share will come from your authority and quality at the same time. And if you go to the other ones, like author badges, they can again do this. For news publishers, they use it, they do it for in terms of other things, but here we have some other projects like Open Social, for example, and I explain what the content author badges are. It is also a research paper and also a kind of implementation, ranking authors and their content in the same framework, which is again important, one of the important inventions by Google. And here they explain, for example, identify comments submitted by user, because they try to rank the comments here according to the authenticity, and it is actually what the Sidewiki is and answers. At the same time, even the design actually is similar to the actual tools. Generating author vectors, this is highly important because everyone uses AI at the moment, and usually language models, they create same type of content in the same style. It means that actually they can understand that you are not the real author. Since you are not the real author, they can tell that even if the article is good, there is no expertise or there is no expert behind the article. But of course, this search engine can't have that much confidence score for detecting the AI generated content. That's why at the moment they are actually using manual penalties, even if the content is good. I have experience on that. And At the same time, author vectors represent your word sequences and context vectors. For example, while I am writing, I always say in this context, in this case, thus. And someone else might say on the other hand. So your word preferences, after certain amount of data, they create certain types of phrase flows. So based on that, I can tell that actually they can understand who you really are. Website representation vectors are, again, it is a kind of pattern to understand which source is real expert on a topic and who is behind the actually that website. And here I actually talk about the Google categories for author reputation and expertise. There are many examples here that I have given. I also connected this topic to the actually website borders, author identities, and expression identities, because expression identity actually means that, by the way, this is also a Google inventor, and expression identity means that how you write the article. If you write the article in a certain way, it means that it is your expression identity. Even if you use a ghostwriter, Google knows that you are not the main creator. And one day, if they are able to improve these algorithms a little further, they might start to actually strip that content out of Google author authority. So even if you have an authority for that topic, that content might not be able to benefit from it. And we have the similar situations from link campaigns as well. And Google Authorship Markup and also author rank relation. I explained what these things are. This is a kind of announcement from Google. You can see it, and also you will see author Hansen here too. And as I say, even in the German example and other examples, again, the same person writes these things. And here there are some other ranking examples from 2011, because these are the years of social media. And highly, I can tell that even if Google denies the social media shares, it was so precise signals for the rankings. Even in the research papers, you see that Facebook shares are really good factors for ranking from most researchers and other areas. And also I start to talk about Google Knowledge Graph here, and I put myself as an example and some other authors here as an example. And then here I have started to give some other research papers as examples and some sections. So once you read these things, you can actually start to optimize your own author identity in the eyes of Google. And I know that this is already 17 minutes, but what can I do? There is also one example. You can also use hrefs for finding authors, and I used Lily Ray here as an example for certain types of content. You can also try it as well. So when I publish this document, I believe it will be a kind of permanent resource for anyone who tries to learn these things. And at some point, as I say, you will need to understand website borders too, because a website can have different borders between segments, between topics, between authors. When you look at the New York Times, there are different authors there, and every author has a different site in the website. And at the same time, it means that actually when you write for New York Times, you are taking their authority into your own identity, and you can reflect it on other websites as well. So that's why we have seen many cases that once actually we see that one of the owners of a company commits a crime, we see a kind of ranking drop. So this is what EAT is, and this is what actually domain expertise is. And we all have a chance to reflect it, and it takes too much time. It requires also branded queries, and also search demand, and also third-party source references and other types of things here. And I believe that's it. Of course, I couldn't dive into the patterns or research papers that much. I just showed them, and I just tried to explain them and how they have performed these things based on other things. And based on all these things, I believe you will be able to use even author schema markup to express your authority overall in a better way. And I believe after a point, you will be able to show your true identity to the users and also to the search engines at the same time. So, okay. Thank you for listening to me. When I publish it, I hope you like it. Oh, although, 1 second. By the way, once I publish a kind of questionnaire, please try to join it. This is from Facebook, the results are here. This is from LinkedIn, the results are here. And 83% of people from LinkedIn cite that Google can do all these things: recognize authors, collect articles from authors, audio they can also collect and unite them. They can also balance the untrustworthy website's authority with the author's reputation. And also from Facebook, I had it too, but I can tell, sorry, Twitter too, but I can tell that on Twitter, nearly half of the people said no. So it was a rare situation that Twitter was more skeptic. Anyway, this was the end, real end. See you later in other videos. Thanks.